Welcome back to the Outreach Project family. This is Josh.
This is Zach.
And this is Seth.
Welcome, Seth.
Thank you.
You excited to be here, or how you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good.
Yeah, so just a little backstory. Seth approached us one day, Sunday morning, said, "Hey, I like your guys' stuff. Keep it up." We're like, hold on, wait. You listen. So that was really cool. So if you listen, please let us know. It's kind of encouraging.
And then they'll ask you to be on the podcast. So
yeah, immediately after, I'm like, all right, well, now we need your phone number. And
You're getting on the next episode.
which you don't have to, but we would love many people to be on here. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, why do you enjoy the show? I know we talked a little before this, but
Yeah, no, I think it's cool. Like I said a little bit in my line of work, one of the things I really enjoy is getting to know people and getting to meet new people. And in a larger church, that can be harder to do sometimes, to get to know everyone. Especially I'll meet people at the bank sometimes, and they'll talk to me and they'll say something about me looking familiar. And as we keep talking, we find out they go to First Church, but we didn't actually know each other from that. So I like hearing different people's stories and getting to know them, even though I've just, maybe said hi, or maybe I don't even know who they are.
yeah. Yeah. So you want to start off maybe a brief introduction, who you are, what you do, fun, hobbies?
Yes. So my name is Seth Hicks, and I am married to Addie, and we have one child. Her name is Trinity. She is 3.5 now. Lived in Columbia City my entire life. I love it. I don't have any plans to leave. Almost all of our family's here.
You graduated from Columbia City?
2009.
Did Addie as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. 2011. So
Okay.
we got, Yeah, 2011. Yep, because we started dating after I was out of high school, and then we got married. It was actually the week before she graduated. We got married. So, because she technically graduated early, so she wasn't in school. So, yeah. So it's really weird when it's like, okay, when she walks, are they going to say her married name? It was a whole thing.
What did they say?
I don't remember now, honestly. But yeah, that was, I'm trying to think. I've been in church my whole life. I've gone to obviously a few different churches, but both my parents are Christian. I do come from a split family, so when I was born, my mom and dad were not married. They were never actually, married or anything. But compared to a lot of other people in those situations, I'm very lucky because I got basically two loving families to grow up and to split my time between. So I had a pretty good childhood overall with that. And on my mom's side, I'm the oldest of 8 kids. So I come from a very large family on that side. Yes.
8?
Yes. Hence why we have one, and that's it. We plan on only having one. So yeah. Yep.
Excuse me, I'll have a table for 10.
Yeah. No. So sometimes my mom will be like, "Oh, for my birthday, let's, do you guys want to go out to eat?" And it's just, "Yes, Mom, for you, we can all go out to eat." And it is. We get like 4 tables. It's Yep.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And then as everyone gets older, only one of my siblings is married so far, because there's 8 years between me and the next oldest. So some of them are still living at home. But as they get married and we all have kids and stuff, it's gonna get crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll have a table for 20, please.
Yeah.
Well, let's rent the restaurant.
It'll get there. Yeah.
That'll be cool, though.
Yeah. Yep.
Very different.
Yeah, and it's weird, from a big family, from being the oldest and then being an 8-year gap between me and the next one. It's not, I don't know, it's not what I would say it feels like a standard sibling relationship, but as they're all getting older now, it's kind of cool because that's forming a bit more. Because I feel like once you get like 18, 20, in your early 20s, like age is a little less relevant, as far as life experience. We understand, having a job and doing these things and taking responsibility. So I'm getting to have more of that now with some of my siblings. So that's cool.
Yeah. Instead of you're like, oh, I just got off my shift, and they're like, oh, I learned algebra.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh shoot, my bad. Yeah. What do you do for fun?
So for fun, lots of like nerd things. So I would say reading, video games, and board games. Have a group of guys to get together and play board games with, and those are my big things. I would say I don't, some people like to have a whole bunch of different hobbies. They do things. I'm very, very specialized.
Yeah.
So
what about music?
Music, yes. It's so weird. Music for me is, I'll joke and say that like I wasn't meant to be a musician. I'm not super creative, but I love music is really, it's a church thing and a little bit of a social thing for me too. So like I love worship and I love expressing worship that way. And then I love playing with other people, but on my own, it's like, actually it's very hard for me to practice or do music on my own because that's not where it's at. Even in a worshipful sense, I would much rather listen to worship music personally and on my own than actually play my own. It's, yeah.
How'd you get into it then?
So the church, the main church I grew up at, there was some of my best friends played music. And so I was like, sure, I'll start playing bass. And, yeah, we all did that. My best friends growing up. I mean, Landon was one of them. So me and Landon have been friends since middle school. He's always been the drummer. I've always been the bass player. We've done that literally the majority of our lives. We have played music together. So, that's kind of what it was. And it's just that we all played on the worship team and that was, that was what we did. So it's something we always did together. So yeah, it's a little bit more of like just a social thing. I've always associated music with worship from that standpoint whenever I play music. So we've done other stuff, but
circling back a little bit, what's your top worship song right now?
God Song by Hillsong. It's one of my favorites right now.
You want to give us a little lyric? I don't.
Yeah. So it's the leading up to the bridge that they repeat a bunch. It's like 3 or 4 completely different verses. So I don't have any of those words memorized, but I like songs like that because it gives you more. It's almost like reading a psalm or scripture or something. Yeah. But it's what is the bridge? It's because I'm not going to sing it a cappella right now. My God is the one and only God, whoever was and is to come, forever worthy of my song. And I think that was the line that sealed the song for me. When that came out, I'm like, yep, this song is just in it. They repeat that forever. And it's just, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Do you only play bass?
I play acoustic in emergency circumstances. I would say I'm the 5th string acoustic player. If there's no one else, I've told Holly, I was like, I will step in if you need it. I've helped out with youth on acoustic a few times. It's just not my primary instrument, but I have one and I practice it and can do the basic stuff. But bass is mainly what I play. And I've actually, as Holly's had me lead vocally, I've learned that I actually like not having an instrument. I like just singing. It's I was terrified the first time I did it because I thought not having an instrument, you're used to your instrument protecting you.
Feels empty.
Yeah, it feels empty, and I loved it. I was able to be a lot more free and move around, and yeah. So from a worship perspective, I actually was completely okay not having an instrument. But yep, bass is pretty much it.
Did you grow up singing?
No, that was actually. So I have nothing but amazing things to say about Holly. She's been a huge. From a leadership perspective, I've learned so much from her, and that I just approached her one day and said, hey, I've always desired to do this. I've just never, I don't know where to start. I've never done it, and I've just been scared to, honestly. And so she met with me a few times, and the very first time, I don't know, I sang half of a song, and she's like, oh, I know what your problem is. And I was like, what's that? She's like, you have zero confidence. And she's like, you're not singing out. You're too afraid. You're too timid. And so we kind of worked on that, and then one day she just made me start singing songs with other people around. It's kind of how it went. So
cool.
Yeah. So this was the first place I've ever really led worship or done any of that. So
yeah.
Awesome.
So let's transition a little bit.
Okay. Actually, I have a quick question. I want to interrupt here. I don't want to interrupt a flow. This is actually for you, Zach.
Ooh.
So I have heard, and I don't know if this is just at work or not, but you have a nickname. And
I have a lot of nicknames.
And I would love to know, it seems like this is the main one, and I would love to know the background of that nickname if you want to share that with the audience.
Wait, what nickname are you?
Big Sexy is what I heard.
Yeah, so that is a nickname that was given to me by coworker Toad. I'm not joking. I worked there for probably 4 months before I actually got the nickname. But just one morning I walked into the mudroom to get started for the day, and Toad just screams out, "What's up, Big Sexy?" And from then on, that's all I've been called.
That's amazing.
I don't know if they actually know my real name anymore. I think it's just that name.
Oh, that's great. So I work with Amanda Sampson.
Yeah.
So her husband, Nolan, enlightened me to that. So I figured I had to ask you.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had that ever since.
That's awesome.
Wow, you got street cred now.
It's actually leaked out into our young adult small group
I was wondering if it's gone.
because one of my coworkers started coming to that, and so he still calls me that because that's what he calls me at work. Then so everybody there knows it. It's just gone wild.
That's amazing. Okay, sorry. I just had to ask that. So
You're being chatted at. Hold on, you were being chatted about at the bank. Nice.
Happens sometimes.
All right.
sorry, continue.
No, all good. What do you do for work?
So I am a banker at Chase Bank. So my main job is just meeting with clients that come into the bank that have more complex needs than just a deposit or withdrawal. So I help them, whether it's managing their finances, opening up a new account, getting them to like a financial advisor or a home lending advisor, business accounts, all of that. So I'm kind of the main person to start that process. And then we have people who specialize in stuff that I'll get them to if I need to. But I have a book of clients that I manage. So they'll be like assigned to me. And my goal is to like build relationships with them and get to know them better and basically help them in whatever way I can financially.
Okay. And how'd you get into that?
So yeah, that's a good question. Very randomly, actually. So when I graduated high school, I knew I didn't want to go to school because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was like, all I knew was I'm not spending any money if I don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
And so I didn't go to school. And at the time, my pastor's wife and youth pastor's wife both worked at Chase Bank in Columbia City. So I got a job there as a teller and ended up going to work in insurance for a bit, then went to work for another bank. And then my manager at the time is still the manager at this branch, and she reached out to me and said they had a banker position open up and said I should apply. And now it's this year will be 10 years. So
Wow.
Yep, worked out. I get to work in my hometown. I get to meet people that in Columbia City, it's just a couple questions and you can make a connection with someone. So people that knew my parents and people that knew my grandparents, graduated with them. So it's cool and fun to make those connections. And I really enjoy that part of it. There's still things that I don't enjoy about it as well, but overall, getting to interact with people, I have a really good boss, really good coworkers, and I was like, outside of that, there's certain parts of the job that, and I think that's almost any job you're going to be like, I don't like this, I don't want to do this, but it's a great work environment.
Yeah.
I really like it. But yeah, I love getting to talk to people and get to know people, and that's, makes my days enjoyable.
Is that what, you'd imagine yourself doing when you graduate high school?
No, I literally had no idea. That's the thing. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And so I grew up, a little more background on this, I grew up in a Pentecostal church, which nothing really bad to say about that. I enjoyed my mom and that family still go there. And so I feel like I learned a lot of my love for worship and things like that. But the one thing is, in the youth group, it was like everyone was called into ministry. And, my stepdad was, he worked at the post office. He's one of the city mail carriers still. And it's like, okay, not everyone's called into ministry. There's other things that people will do. I think, rephrase that. We are all, I think, called into ministry to an extent. We're not all called into a full-time ministry.
Or a church job.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. We are called into, I think, different things. And because I was like, there's people that you will be able to reach and you'll be able to do God's work in other ways in your communities by not being a pastor. But that was a thing that was a little bit weird. So it felt like, well, you had to do that. You had to be a pastor. You had to do this thing or this thing. And so that was a little bit confusing for me, I think, as I graduated. But no, I definitely wouldn't say this is what I imagine myself doing, but I've really learned to love it. And I always want to stay open-handed to what God has for me, because I can get very, very stuck. I very much like security. I like things to be the same. I like to plan things out. So I have to work extra hard to be open for, if God does want me to do something different, that I'm listening for that, because it would be very easy for me to ignore that.
Giving examples of you listening?
I'm leading worship.
Okay.
I was beyond terrified to talk to Holly about it initially. I just felt like that was something that I was supposed to pursue and grow in. We also had and I think it's a lot of things it's actually in ministry areas to grow. We did a prayer and worship class, the leadership track and the worship team. And it was me, Holly, Ryan, and Ben all did sessions. And that was another growing. I'd never taught a class before, and I learned that I've always enjoyed teaching things to people that I feel like I'm an expert on. I feel like I've always been surrounded by pastors and people that are in full-time ministry, so I've felt maybe a little inferior in like my Bible knowledge. And so I've always felt like, oh, well, I can't teach that. I'm not like qualified. And it's like, okay, well, what makes, someone qualified to do that? And so that was a big stretch for me too. And that was very much listening to God. And I really, really enjoyed it. So that's something me and Addie have talked about doing more of, whether we taught a class or something like that. But I really enjoyed teaching.
Okay. Yeah. What are you involved in with maybe a small group or?
So we just did a small group that we just ended. It was about a year and a half, 2 years. And that was the plan when we started it, that we were going to do it, we had said 1 to 2 years, and that one just kind of ended. Me and Addie and Jason and Val Geip led that one. So we had 4 other couples that were in that. So we did a couple books, some books of the Bible studies, a few different things. And and so that one just ended, and we're kind of in an in-between state right now. So I'm obviously on the worship team. The worship team in between services, we kind of have a very informal small group. So even if I'm not on the team, I still go to that every Sunday. Sometimes it's just hanging out and chit chat. Sometimes, someone will have a very deep question prepared, or we'll watch, videos of other worship leaders talking about ways to, improve your ministry, or to do challenge you to do things different in your ministry. But yeah. Was
that led by Holly or?
It's very open. So Holly does a leadership track. So me, Elijah, Ben, there's I don't know, like 12 people on it at this point that are basically people who have either expressed interest in, or Holly wants to train up or coach their ability to lead worship, whether it's from a microphone or just from their instrument and leading with the team, to help support her, whether it's praying during the service or helping with different things that would come up with the worship team. So it's just kind of help spread the load of different things. So that it could be really any of us. A lot of times we'll come with something prepared to discuss. So it's not even fully led by Holly. It's kind of a group led effort. So
cool.
But that's like I said, it's very informal, but I enjoy it, and Addie started going to it as well. So
could you share a little bit of your testimony with us, like how you came to know God? Just how you've seen Him work in your life, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So I grew up in church, so it was one of those. It's weird, when people talk about that day that they got saved, and they're like, I know, and I'm like, I don't. It's weird because it's like it was sometime probably like late elementary, middle school. That's when I got baptized, and I believe so. It's I've just always done that, and one thing that I've always been thankful for. I think part of it comes from growing up in the church. I think some people can get hurt or have different things, but I've just always been able to have a really strong faith. So I've never doubted God in that or any of those things. I think some of the growing up, very involved in church, in the worship ministry, that was I'm very unathletic. I didn't know sports in high school, but music was my thing. I did stuff in the worship team, and I loved whenever basically the doors were open, I was at church. And I really enjoyed that. I think once I left the church that I originally went to, and it's probably been more since I started coming here, there's more of it's like a overused phrase, but making your faith your own kind of thing, like just challenging some of the things that I'd believed growing up, and that some of them, it's like, no, I definitely still believe that. And then some of the questions, that I never felt like I was given a good answer to, like, why do bad things happen to good people, for example? And I was like, I never had a satisfactory answer to that, and kind of digging into scripture and just researching things on my own on what I truly believe and how I can back that up and feel at peace with between me and God on those things. But up until, graduated high school, me and Addie got married. After we left the original church that we went to, we actually were a part of we started a church with a group of other people. Things went pretty south there for various reasons, but that was really hard. It's probably 2 years. I never lost my faith. I still believe in God, but it was probably almost 2 years we didn't go to church. But we had a lot of hard things with our marriage and between each other, and it was just what do we do now kind of thing. And it's one of those, looking back in hindsight, like, if some of these things had not happened, like, I hate to say it, like me and Addie have both talked about this, I don't know if we would still be married today if all these really hard things didn't happen for us to work through and to pray about and make God the center of our marriage and not each other, because that's such a easy thing to do. Like, this is my spouse, this person's important, they're right in front of me, I need to make them the priority. But they aren't the centerpiece, like that should always be God. And I think we learned a lot through that. A big thing that I'll tell you guys now, since neither of you are married, pre-marriage counseling is great, but if after the first year of marriage you get after marriage counseling, is us going to marriage counseling changed our lives and our marriage, and it was I feel like some of the things were just so minor now when I look at them, but that having someone to pray with us and talk through us on things that were unfair to each other, unfair to ourselves, things we were doing and saying, and I don't know, it was life-changing. And I think it's made our marriage so strong today. Taught us how to communicate better, how to love each other better, and obviously we're not perfect. We still argue, we still drive each other nuts with different things, but that has just changed so much for us. And then as we went through those challenges, we ended up at this point, Elijah was employed here, who's been one of my best friends for a long time, and Landon was going here, and so my wife's sister, half of her family went here, and it was like, this kind of made sense to start going to First Church. But yeah, that was a hard transition, going to a big church. I felt like I was against that. I really didn't like it at first. It was so hard because I was used to a church where you kind of knew everyone, 100, 120 people, you can know all the families, know everyone, and yeah, it was different. That's why, actually, from the beginning, we sat in the front row because I was like, it made the church so much smaller because you could only see a few of the people and not everyone. So, yeah, and the rest is kind of, history from there. I mean, we've been here after coming here about a year, started to get involved. Addie does children's ministry. I've done worship. We've done a couple small groups. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I did start one thing that was huge, I guess. Yeah, this is really big. I don't know why I'm skipping this. So to my spiritual walk, I was like 4 or 5 years ago, I had reached out to Ryan Ward.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, I just want someone as like a mentor, someone that I look at and can respect, and someone who's raised a family, is in a professional career field, not like in full-time ministry, and someone that I can just learn from, like how they did life, and from like raising kids to like spiritual walk and keeping a balance and all of those things. And it's, that was huge. Like, it really was, just having someone who, 10, 15 years ahead of me, in life, and, someone to talk through things, pray through things. And now, I mean, we still get together every other week, and we're just really good friends now. And we just talk about stuff and are there to encourage each other for things and hold each other accountable for things. And that was huge for a lot of stuff. It was just, as you kind of phrased, I was kind of almost in like a slump, I feel like, in my walk with God, and it was to have someone to help push me to that, what can I do to keep my relationship with God strong? So,
yeah. What's the importance in having maybe a mentor or...
Yeah. That was something I never understood, because even at like work, they'll talk about like having like a professional mentor, and that I still don't fully understand. But in that case, I was like, I just wanted someone that like, because that was the thing, like it was like there was no structure really to it. So it's really just to have someone to get together to, I think it's almost like people that I feel like it might be an outdated term now, having like an accountability partner or something like that, but it's just someone to pray with and have like dedicated time to talk about. We went through a handful of books together that we would just read throughout the week and have something to discuss. It was a very open space to talk about things like, hey, this is something that I'm really struggling with, or like, I need prayer with this. Like, where they're like, hey, I'm like really upset about this thing. I know that I'm wrong, but I'm still really upset about like in different things, and just to kind of talk, through that with someone, and like challenges with marriage and parenting. And like, one of the things, I know I'm really scattered with everything I'm talking about. Coming from a large family, I actually didn't want kids at all. I was like, nope, I'm cool never having children. And Addie did not feel that way. And so that was a hard thing for us for a bit. And that was something, having someone else to talk to about those things that they can encourage you, but not just, it's not someone that's just your cheerleader in the corner, that can also challenge you. And I struggled when we decided to go ahead and start trying. When Addie got pregnant, it was actually really hard for me. I got emotionally, it was like in my brain, my life was over. I know it sounds crazy and dramatic, but I really, really had a hard time. So just even having someone like for those things in life that come up, just to talk to, and just to walk you through like, here's what God says about these things, and all of that is just invaluable to have kind of that extra voice. Yeah,
because no one's perfect. And so having someone that you said like similar career, similar, I don't know, interests.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We've become,
values.
That's the thing. Me and Ryan, like I said, we've become really good friends. We both have a ton of the same interests and different things. We're both involved in the worship ministry and like all of that stuff. So that worked out, really well in that. And that's, so I don't think that, everyone needs to have like a mentor for this or a mentor for that. But for me at that time, that was a huge thing for my spiritual walk for sure.
Now, I want to rewind a little bit. Did you grow up with Elijah as well then, or?
Well, I can tell you the very funny story of me growing up with Elijah. We actually, the very first church like I ever went to when I was younger, I don't really remember it a lot. Apparently Elijah went to it too. And Landon also went to it. I vaguely remember Landon, but neither of us remember Elijah. Me and Elijah were apparently in the same class in 5th grade, and I have no memory of this. And then one day, my mom sends me a picture of me and Elijah together, and we were like friends, and I have zero memory of it. And it's a running joke. Elijah says he's so forgetful because like even in high school, people are like, wait, you went to Columbia City? And it's a running joke for us. But we became friends in high school is when me and Elijah actually met and became friends, and we started doing worship music together. And we play. We used to, especially before any of us had kids, man, like we'd be up till 2-3 in the morning playing video games online. Like that was our thing. So yep.
What's your go-to video game?
It changes regularly, but right now it is Diablo 4.
What's that?
It is, gosh, I can't even go into it. It's not as evil as it sounds, but it just launched like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Diablo's the hot sauce at Taco Bell, though, so it can't be that bad.
That's true. Yeah. There we go. We'll ignore what it means in Spanish. So yeah, but that's different games over time. But we play everything. So yeah, just that's something I was like, it's always been able. We've talked. It's funny. There have been times when we played games and we will be done playing the game and we'll still be in our, have our headsets on and we'll talk for like 2 hours about life and different things going on. And it's just been a nice thing for our friendship. Even now, we still have one night a week where it's like, hey, after kids go to bed, we get on and play, and that's something that we get to do. We still get together and play board games and all that stuff. So yeah.
So it's no secret to this community that you, Elijah, Landon, and Jordan are all boys. Like,
yeah.
What's the significance in having that really tight knit group of friends that share the same values, and like, how has that helped you grow? How has that helped you in your faith?
Yeah. Man, there's a lot there. So yeah, we've trying to think where to start. It's crazy because it took a while before I realized how, especially for men in general, as you get older and start a family and all of those things, like I think a lot of men let their friendships and relationships go. Like that's something where it's like, oh, I'm going to become career focused, or this is all about, this now. And it wasn't, I don't know. It was, we realized at some point it was like, oh, wow, this is like unusual. Like a lot of times, like once people are getting in their late 20s, 30s, like having close friendships, even, and it can happen for women too, but like just kind of fall apart. They don't maintain them. It's just like, oh, this is my family now. This is what I do. I go to work. I take care of this. And that's like the end. But I think there's something hugely valuable in having that, just some people to like just enjoy life with and talk about. Like, we say we get together and play board games till 1 or 2 in the morning. We even rarely play board games that late. We play board games till like 11 o'clock at night, and then we just talk. We talk about church. We talk about ministry. We talk about things going in our lives, and just sharing that with people who are at the same stage of life, and even just talking about different ideas or different things that you've done to overcome different difficulties, and just have people that that like I could literally, if my like dad died and I sent a text message, I know Elijah and Landon would be there immediately, and however long it took Jordan to get here from Danville would be here. Like, it's just like to have those people that you can count on and rely on, because even once you're married, like you and your spouse rely on each other for everything, but there is a point where you can't burden your spouse with everything. Like, it can be unfair to them for different issues or problems where they need a break, and you don't want to put all of your problems on them. And I think having those friendships allows us to spread that weight out a little bit. And to have people to just, enjoy life with and have those connections to talk to and challenge you. Me and not to get too much into different theology or anything, but me and Elijah, I would say obviously nothing serious, but different things in the Bible could be vastly different opinions on. And we can have a full-fledged argument about it, and then we're laughing 10 minutes later. Because it's just, we know what we believe, what the truth is, but there might be some, there's lots of minor things people may disagree on the Bible that aren't a make or break, but some people do let those be a make or break. And it just challenges, your faith. And there have been a lot of things I think that I used to hold really strongly that I realized, like, wow, this was a really dumb thing to hold strongly, because it's literally mentioned in the Bible in like maybe half a sentence, and there's like all disagreement about the interpretation, and and that's something that I think having someone to challenge you in that, and sometimes it's things where it's like, hey, no, this is what I believe, and I know I believe because I've looked into this, and I've read about this, and I prayed about this, and this is what I believe about who God is and what He's done.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a little small group almost, but deeper. And
yeah. It really is. The things that we'll discuss, and I think that, it's one of those where it's something like having that person in your life. We've talked about in various groups, there's a social contract that you have with people. And, if there's someone that you barely know their name, and they are doing something sinful, and you go to them and try and correct them, they're going to say, who the heck are you? But in that group, I think we're all pretty much free to call each other out on anything. And having someone that can do that and not be a thing you're going to get up in arms about and defensive about, because they know me and they know who I am and they know that I shouldn't be doing this. Having that as a check and a balance is really good as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's fun. It's fruitful. Mm-hmm. Why would that be bad? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What are you doing any kind of studies right now on your own or with Addie?
Not right now. That's been something I feel like we were kind of talking for a little bit about what we want to do with Trinity for things, with her being 3.5. And I think we've settled on we can just keep rereading the same children's Bible, because as she's getting older, she understands things a little bit more. But for me, I've kind of been all over the place. I'm ready to do something like, whether it's like a book study or something like that. I just haven't landed on what that is yet, besides just reading random like scripture or something. I want to do something that's a little bit more focused. One of the well, there's a couple of them, but I've thought about going back to, have you guys read Knowledge of the Holy by A.W. Tozer? I would highly recommend it. That was one of the greatest just books about God ever. It's all about Knowledge of the Holy. It just talks about the different aspects of God. The chapters are like 3 pages, and you'll read a paragraph and be like, I just need to pray now. Because it's just really, really heavy theological stuff and tons of scripture and tons of just talking about who God is. And just even in my prayer life and in my worship, it changed me drastically. But I've thought about going back to that because I really loved it. And it's always good to have a reminder of who God is. So
yeah. What's some of your favorite, some of your most challenging, just scriptures you've read or books?
I think we can do what we want with this because some people might consider this like completely wrong. One of the really, oh gosh, what was the name of it? Was it Let Go? I think, and it was just talking about understanding trials that you go through. And I'm not going to act for a second like my life has been filled with trials. I'm very thankful for, I have not experienced a ton of them, but how God can use those and that, the whole trying to come to terms with why am I going through this suffering and why isn't it gone? And getting hindsight to look back on things, I think you go, wow, my life changed went on this course drastically because this thing happened, and I learned so much through this experience that prepared me for this thing. I think was accepting that as there is a reason for trials and challenges and things that you go through. And I think it was just accepting that fact was really hard for me. Like there is, at the end of the day, God wants us to be healthy spiritually. Like that's like if there are things that will happen to you that'll make your faith stronger or will bring you closer to God that in the moment might hurt elsewhere, because that's the ultimate goal. And I think recognizing that as the ultimate goal was really hard for me.
Yeah. Is that kind of like, storms are going to come, but when the foundation's on God,
exactly.
It'll all be good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like knowing that. And then it's every situation is different. I can't speak to everyone's situation. I think people have different experiences with that, but knowing that, that when those things happen, you're going to be okay, and trusting God. It's just, it's still a challenge. It's still very, very hard for me. I like to be in control and I like to plan things out. I know I'd already said that. And so when there's times where it's like, God, I need to give this to you as hard as it may be and know that you, at the end, you want what's best for me.
No, that's cool.
I think, that's lots of scriptures speak to that. It's just that idea and that concept was very challenging for me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. What you got? No?
Nothing off the top of my head.
No? What do you have? You got
any questions for us?
I got my one question out of the way. What do you guys want for the future of the podcast? Do you have like a long-term vision for what you see yourselves doing with it?
I don't.
Yeah. I just go week by week, see what God has in store for it. I'm not a big planner, so exact opposite of you. I like to just fly by the seat of my pants, just whatever God has in store, that's what he's got. And so wherever he takes it, he takes it. If we stop next week, so be it. It's God's will.
I've touched a lot of times the point of this, and I would just like to get more people, hear more stories, hear more who people are, maybe some people that maybe aren't as seen in the church. I think would be really neat. Maybe Riley was on the podcast a while ago. He's up in the booth but works here, big part of Sunday mornings and everything. So that's neat. You don't even have to work here for me to consider you that, but and even people that like I'll call him out, Brad. Like people like that, I would really love to hear their story because we see them so much. But then I'm like, oh well, where'd he grow up? How did he get to know Jesus? I think that's
you see these people, but you don't actually know these people, so you want to put a story to their face, not just a name.
And I think there's so much value in that for one, like you said, getting to know. I feel like I know a little bit more about that person who's up on stage speaking or singing or whatever they're doing. And then I think there's the aspect too of, wow, this person went through these challenges. I'm going through these challenges. This is someone who's on the other side that I can talk to. Yeah, I think is a really cool like aspect of that you can see as well, and it makes people more accessible. It's weird. It blows my mind the amount of like people that when Holly, and they're people who are on the team now, but they're like, oh, I could never be on the worship team. I'm not as good as that. And it's like, slow down there for a second. The majority of us on here are like self-taught amateurs. Like,
I mean, you're average.
Yes, very, very average. There are like 4 or 5 professional musicians we have on the worship team. Everyone else is, I mean, there's a lot of them that are above average, but just we're not doing anything perfectly. Like we're just saying, God, we want to give you our best and we want to worship you. And I think that our worship team is extremely blessed because of that. And we have extremely good leadership and just a great spirit of like just being cooperative. Like we just want to work together and we want to do it well. Like I like going to worship practice on Thursdays is fun. Like it really is. Like working through stuff, playing together. We all get to. It's a great experience, and I think people, and I don't fully understand it, and I think it's because I've been so comfortable with not like being on a stage, but being able to go up on a stage. It's not intimidating to me, but it is to other people. So like, it's nice for people to know like I'm literally a normal person. There's nothing special. About me being on the word like please and so I think that's. For anyone who's on stage and for the pastors and everyone, like we're all people and we all have interests and hobbies and we have flaws and we have things that we question. I think that's important.
It shows, like Rob shows he's not perfect. He didn't have a perfect life.
Which there's something beautiful about knowing that nothing's perfect, because if we were all perfect, then we wouldn't need God. So I don't want to be perfect because I want God. Yeah. And I want eternal life with God. So there's just something beautiful about knowing that we're imperfect, so we need God, and God loves us even though we are imperfect.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest things I feel like I ever, and it wasn't even from scripture, but that I ever feel like I learned about God was after, it was, I don't know, like a year or so after we had Trinity. I was like, wow, like, and everyone said you'll never understand what it's like to have a child until you have one, and everyone has said that was right. But I was like, I love her so much. And then just one day I felt like it just hit me. I was like, oh, but God loves me so much more than that. And it was just this crazy feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I can't even comprehend how much he loves me, as terrible as I am and all the things that I mess up. And he's still like, it's a crazy thing.
That's neat. You really didn't believe people when they said you wouldn't know what having a kid's like?
No, I told you when I said when I struggled, like my biggest, gosh, this is gonna sound terrible. I do not enjoy children. I don't really like children. I tolerate them. I try my best. Me and Ben Harlan joke, like, he does Bear Lake Camp with all these kids. And I was like, I don't know how you do that. And he's like, I don't know how you talk to adults all day. He's like, adults are terrible. We're all built differently. Kids are not my thing. And I was terrified. I was like, what if I have a child and I don't like it? And everyone was like, no, you will. And I'm like, I hope so. I really do. It's happening now. And it all worked out. So, that was a huge fear for me.
Do you like?
Yeah, I absolutely love Trinity. Yeah, she's the best. She's the greatest. She's the greatest child ever. No child will ever beat her. So she's the best. Yeah. No, it was. So that was a huge fear of mine, and very much unnecessary fear, thankfully.
All right. I'm going to put you on the spot here to put someone else on the spot who should come out and be on the podcast.
Oh. See, I was already questioning, like, should I give you... I definitely was going to give you names. Ryan Ward, you're up. Ryan would be great.
We'll just clip that and send it to him.
Yep, you're up. There you go.
That'd be really interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. We'll see you.
We look forward to talking to you next week.
That's good. That'll be hilarious if he's the next one posted. After
He'll
you.
totally do it. He'll totally do it.
Oh yeah. But cool. You're ready for this.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm prepared.
You ready for
I
this?
thought about this before I even got here today.
Final question. Dream vacation. Go.
Yes. Dream vacation is, gosh, now I'm thinking now about how nerdy this is going to sound. So in Missouri, there is a ranch that a guy built. It is called the Board Gamers Ranch. It's 170 acres. So it has a lot of outdoor stuff, ATVs, I think like kayaking, all sorts of stuff. But then the facility, I'm trying to remember the square footage, but they have 2,200 board games. Can comfortably have 20 people stay there. You can stay there for however long you want, normally about
And
a
you
week
get
stay.
the whole facility when you stay there?
The entire facility you get there. I don't know how many TVs they have. They have an entire place set up with computers for video gaming, and then all the board games that you could ever want. So it's not like it is attainably financially. It's not like it's out there it's so expensive I'll never be able to do this. But it's getting things to line up. Whether it was getting a bunch of couples to go, but not all couples like games. It can only be might only be one person. Or a big group of guys to go. So it's something someday I would like to do, but it's it's a week off to spend doing something like that, and it's in Missouri, and yeah,
That would be insane.
It would be a blast.
I didn't even know there was 2,200 board games in existence.
That was when I became better friends with Elijah, and he had 10 games that I'd never heard of before, and he's like, oh yeah, they're these whatever more obscure board games, and they were awesome. Well, since that time, the industry of that has grown. I can't remember what the stat was. It was there's hundreds of new board games come out every year that you've never heard of and never will hear of because some of them aren't great.
Yeah.
Elijah has 70, 80, I think, games.
What's your favorite game?
Twilight Imperium. It is an 8 to 12 hour board game.
Jeez.
It is one of the greatest experiences ever. It is fantastic.
Who has 8 to 12 hours?
We have a goal once a year to play this game. We get a...
Okay, it's a once a year. It's
no, you can't play it. No. You could, but it's we'll pick a Saturday.
Game on Tuesday night.
You
can't do that.
No. It's not one of our just regular get-togethers. It's whoever's going to play, we all agree to it. Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, you show up until we finish it. We'll take a break for lunch. That's it. We did it. It was me. Who is it? It was me. It's just 4 of us. The last one was me, Elijah, Landon, and Ryan. Ryan won. But it was good. It was, me, Elijah, and Ryan. We were pretty neck and neck in that last
I
turn,
would
but
hate to spend 12 hours of my life to lose.
here's the thing. Again, and I lost. Still fantastic. It's winning, losing. It can be frustrating when you lose sometimes. But, the experience of the game is such a fun game. I can really nerd out just talking about it. It's so great.
I kind of want to play it.
I kind of do too.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to Elijah. He has it, so we'll see. Maybe the next one it'll be Josh and Zach can join us.
We can do a podcast.
You have to have the stamina to sit through for again 8 to 12 hours.
All right.
Do you guys play board games at all?
I'm into Catan a lot.
I just play Catan with him.
Yeah.
I'm not a big board gamer, but
Catan for these types of games is the intro.
Yeah.
That pulls you into some of the more
Gotcha.
obscure games. So.
Yeah.
Elijah would probably want to test you guys first on a lighter game than Twilight Imperium to see if you enjoyed it before asking you to commit an entire day. So.
Yeah. I've recently branched into the expansion, so Catan.
Yeah.
It's
Seafarers, Cities and Knights.
It's a crazy world.
It is. It's just the beginning, man. It's just the beginning.
just the beginning.
Don't hit me with
You're
the
going to
just.
have 150 board games by the end of next year.
No chance. I have rent. But yeah, thank you for coming on, Seth. You have any closing thoughts?
No, it's great.
Yeah, no one ever does.
Yeah, keep it up. Keep it up.
Don't hate the man for not having closing thoughts. Do you have any closing thoughts?
It's been great.
Yeah, I was going to say it was great.
All right, cool. Thank you. Ryan, you're next. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.